If you're watching this because you know your child is capable, but school seems much harder for them than it should be, this presentation's for you. You may have been told that they need to concentrate more, try harder, practice more, become more independent, or stop avoiding the work. You may also see a very different child at home from the one school describes. But sometimes the child is trying, and an ability involved in learning is making that task much harder than anybody can see. And that is where SOI Learning Profile may help. SOI does not diagnose your child, and it does not explain every difficulty or every behaviour. What it can do is look more closely at individual abilities used in learning, such as understanding, memory, problem solving, evaluation, and in the wider assessment, creativity. In this short presentation, I will show you some of the things parents often recognise, explain what SOI looks at, and help you understand when an assessment may add useful information. The aim is to move beyond simply saying, my child is struggling, and ask a more helpful question. What may be making learning harder for this particular child? Parents often contact me because several things are not adding up. Their child may know the answer when speaking, but struggle to get it onto paper. They may understand something clearly one day and appear unable to do it the next. They may forget an instruction almost as soon as it's been given, or need the same prompt repeated again and again. Homework may take longer, far longer than it should. It may lead to arguments, tears, anger, avoidance, a complete shutdown. A child may say, I don't know, before they've even started, or insist that they cannot do something that the parents seen do before. Some children are described as bright, capable, or full of potential, yet their results don't reflect what the family know they can understand. Others manage in school and then fall apart when they get home because they have used so much effort in holding everything together. You may also notice that behaviour becomes more difficult when the learning demand increases, particularly around reading, writing, homework, revision, multi-step tasks, or even getting ready for school. None of these signs prove that a particular learning ability is the cause, but when the pattern is persistent, it is reasonable to ask whether there is something underneath the visible struggle that has not yet been identified. Parents often say they know the rule, so why do they keep doing it? Knowing what should happen and being able to use that knowledge in the moment are not always the same thing. A child may need to pause, hold back the first response, remember the rule, think of another option, compare the choices, choose a response, and then review what happened. Inhibitory control is an important part of that process. It's an executive function ability that helps us stop or delay an immediate response. SOI is not a complete executive function in assessment, but it does not directly assess every aspect of inhibition, emotional regulation, or impulse control. However, an SOI profile can add information about some of the thinking abilities used around that pause. Memory may affect whether the rule or consequences can be held in mind. Creativity can help a person generate another option. Evaluation is involved in comparing and judging which response fits best. Problem solving supports working out what to do next. A lower score in one of these areas does not cause difficult behaviour, predict behaviour, or excuse harmful choices. But it may show us that a thinking skill needs to be taught, practiced, and supported, rather than assuming that repeated telling off will teach it automatically. SOI stands for Structure of Intellect. I use it as a learning profile assessment. The simplest way to understand it is that different abilities are looked at separately, rather than reducing the child to one overall judgment. Cognition is about understanding. Has the child understood what they are seeing, hearing, or being asked? Memory is about retaining and retrieving information. Can they hold it? Can they store it? And can they bring it back when they need it? Problem solving is about working out a response or finding an effective solution. Evaluation is about checking, comparing, and judging. Does the answer fit? What is different? What needs changing? And have I met the requirements? Creativity, which is included in the wider assessment, is about generating ideas, possibilities, and alternatives. The assessment also considers different kinds of information, including visual or figural information, symbols such as letters, numbers, and verbal or meaning-based information. The value is in the pattern. A child may be strong in one route, but much lower in another. That uneven profile can help explain why they appear very capable in some situations and struggle much more in others. Being bright does not mean every learning ability is equally strong. A child may have brilliant ideas, but find it hard to organize the final answer. They may read well, but struggle to remember a sequence of instructions. They may understand complex concepts and still make simple mistakes when checking. A child can have a wide vocabulary, but struggle to retrieve the exact word under pressure. They may achieve good grades while working far harder for much longer than anyone realizes. Strong reasoning, creativity, or knowledge can compensate for a weaker ability for years. This is one of the reasons some children are missed. Their strengths are visible, so the effort and difficulty underneath them are not. The problem may become clearer when demands increase, at secondary transition, when homework grows, when written answers become longer, when several teachers give different instructions, or when a child is expected to manage time and organize independently. An SOI profile is not about deciding whether a child is intelligent. It is about understanding the routes their thinking uses. A highly able child can still benefit from knowing which abilities are supporting them and which ones are making learning unnecessarily difficult. An SOI assessment may be worth considering when a child's performance is very inconsistent, when they appear to know much more than their work shows, when repeated intervention has not led to the expected progress, or when a particular learning demands regularly lead to frustration, avoidance, or shutdown. Now, there are two assessment pathways. Form L is the more focused younger child assessment, and where it's suitable, it is normally considered for younger children and looks at 11 abilities across cognition, memory, evaluation, and problem solving. Form CR is the wider assessment, which is generally used for older learners, including secondary or post-16, and it looks at 26 abilities across cognition, memory, evaluation, problem solving, and creativity. The choice is not made by age alone. Reading level, development level, current functioning, and the question we are trying to answer all matter. So before assessing, we have an initial discussion with the parent or carer. The assessment is then completed and scored. I then prepare a parent-friendly explanation of the child's stronger and lower scoring abilities, possible everyday effects, and practical recommendations. And where appropriate, targeted development work can be planned and progress can be reviewed. SOI does not diagnose autism, ADHD, dyslexia, or a behavioural condition. And it cannot explain every behaviour, and it does not replace education psychology, clinic assessments, or school evidence. It provides an additional piece of information about how the child appears to access learning. If if you keep thinking my child is capable of more than we are seeing, it may be worth looking at how they're learning, not only at how they are performing. An SOI learning profile can help identify abilities that are supporting the child and abilities that are making things harder. Now, that information can help parents and professionals ask better questions and make support more targeted. The aim is not to find something wrong with your child, and it's not to place a ceiling on them or replace everything that is already known about them. The aim is to understand the pattern earlier, before repeated difficulty becomes loss of confidence, school avoidance, disengagement, or a belief that they simply cannot learn. And I know cost is an important consideration for families, and current assessment prices, payment options, and subsidised places are all explained on the website. I'm also continuing to apply for funding so that I can keep assessments subsidised and we may make more accessible to families where possible. And funding availabilities can change, so please check the website or contact me for any current options that we've got on. So if this presentation has sounded familiar and you would like to discuss whether an SOI learning profile may be suitable for your child, you can contact me through the Autism and ADHD website. All the details are on there. So thank you for watching.